Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. The plans are coming together for the biggest situational awareness event I've ever done. You may have heard me mention in a previous episode that September 26th is National Situational Awareness Day. Well, I took that one step further and declared September to be National Situational Awareness Month. I announced I was looking for program hosts to help fill the month and make the event special throughout the United States and Canada. And here's what we have lined up so far. September 5th to 7th, I'll be at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Portsmouth, Virginia. Then September 11th and 12th, Chesapeake Fire Department in Virginia. September 13, 14, Henrico Fire Department. September 18 and 19, the Topeka, Kansas Fire Department. September 20, Sny Valley Fire Protection District. September 21, at the University of California, Davis campus, a program for the International Association of Fire Chiefs. Then on National Situational Awareness Day, September 26th, I'll be at the Pearland Fire Department in Texas. And then September 28th, the Gurley Fire Department in Illinois. If you're interested in getting on board still in September, the available dates are Friday, September 1, Sunday, September 10, and Sunday, September 24. If you're interested in hosting a program on any of these dates, please just contact me through the samatters.com and click on the Contact Us tab. Alternatively, you can train your members online, and you can enroll them in the Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. The Academy will teach your members everything they need to know about situational awareness and high-risk decision-making for a crazy affordable price. If you enroll 31 or more members, the cost goes down to $49 a member. That's like half price for a decent pair of gloves. The Academy just opened for enrollment in January, and there's already been over 700 students who are currently enrolled or have completed the Academy. Did you know that issues related to situational awareness are consistently identified as contributing factors in near misses, injuries, and fatality reports? Please, 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 don't wait. Don't wait until your agency has a critical injury or fatality event. Please don't wait. I get to work with many departments who have experienced critical injuries and fatality incidents, and they're some of the most hurting organizations you can imagine. Please don't wait for that to happen. Seriously, I can take your understanding of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making to the level it needs to be. Visit samatters.com, click the green button on the right side of the homepage labeled Online Academy. For our premium enrolled students in the Academy, you get to participate in monthly webinars where I have guests on talking about important safety topics. The July guest was Fire Chief Dennis Rubin talking about crew resource management. The next webinar after that will be August 30 and will feature Fire Chief Ron Canterman talking about safety, leadership, advocacy, and being the champion. September 11th, the webinar guest will be retired Fire Chief, attorney, and physician's assistant John Murphy talking about first responder safety and street drugs like fentanyl and heroin. This is a really important topic right now because it's impacting many first response agencies. On October 30, our guest will be FDNY Battalion Chief Dan Sheridan talking about first due Battalion Chief size-ups and situational awareness. Again, these webinars are exclusively for the premium enrolled students in the Academy, and the playbacks are always available all the time for all premium enrolled students in the course room. Okay, that's enough of the pre-show stuff. Roll that podcast intro. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Captain Eric Dryman from the Indianapolis Fire Department, and you are listening to the SA Matters radio show with Dr. Rich Gasaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 170 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes. If you're new to the podcast, you've got some homework to do and go back and listening to some of the past episodes. I've released a new episode every Tuesday, never missed a week, for more than 3 years. And I do this for you, the listeners. You truly inspire me. I've been sharing the message of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making in live programs for 12 years now, and have trained just over 59,000 first responders, industrial workers, and military personnel. I'm here for the long run, and for so long as I'm able, I'll continue to share this message, a message of hope, a message of inspiration, and a message of encouragement for all first responders who want to make sure they're able to develop and maintain strong situational awareness and make quality, high-risk decisions. I'm dedicated to helping improve your safety and your survival, and to help you accomplish the very most important goal of all, to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, I'm coming to you today from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm in town to do a program for the town of McCandless Fire Department and other fire departments throughout the region. One of the questions I get asked a lot by readers and listeners are, when are you coming to my area? I want to attend a program. Or where are you going to be next? Great questions, and the answers are easy to find out. There's a link to the upcoming events right on the homepage of the SA Matters website. Just click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. If you want to save some money hosting a program, and who doesn't want to save some money, right? Here's a tip for how you can host a program at a reduced cost. You've heard me probably mention in some episodes about companion programs. Those are programs on adjoining days to other programs. So if you see I'm delivering a program within a couple hours of your department, and you might want to tag along as a companion, contact me, and you can save as much as 20% off the cost of your program fee. And I do about 30 companions every year, and no one has ever complained about saving money on hosting a companion program. That's truly what I call a win-win. Before I dive into today's feature segment, I want to take a moment to talk about the Company Officer Development Institute that I created back in 2009. Some of you know my second passion after situational awareness is developing leadership skills in company officers, something I didn't do a very good job of when I was a fire chief. I was guilty of promoting officers before they were prepared to be leaders, and that was my fault. And then I got frustrated when they didn't provide good leadership to their crews or in their stations. And that was my fault too. So I partnered with Indianapolis Fire Captain Patrick Harper and created the Company Officer Development Institute. This program can be customized for anywhere from 2 to 5 days, and no matter the length, there's no PowerPoint. Did you hear that? No PowerPoint. Can you imagine a week-long class that doesn't use PowerPoint? Is that even possible? Not only is it possible, but it is a better way to learn the skills essential for good leadership. When adults are engaged in the process of learning and not just being lectured to, learning can be fun, and more importantly, the lessons stick. We share practical, actionable best practices for leadership, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, interpersonal dynamics and communications, motivation, accountability, generational leadership, discipline, coaching for performance improvement, and more. So when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired and frustrated from dealing with uncommitted, unprofessional, undedicated members destroying the morale of your department, and they're sucking the life out of you, contact me for a program that'll teach you and your officers a better way of leadership and committed followership. Okay, in today's feature segment, I interview an industrial firefighter who, if not for trusting his intuition, might have been killed. When I'm done with the feature segment, stick around and I'll tell you where you can attend an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop event. Who knows, maybe I'll be right in your state or right in your county soon. Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here, and I am with Brad Davidson. Brad is an industrial firefighter in Manitoba, Canada, and Brad recently attended a situational awareness program that I did at FDIC, and we got an opportunity to have a conversation about an event that Brad was involved in, where his intuition, his gut feel, his spidey senses might have actually saved his life. Before we jump into the story, Brad, just tell us a little bit about who you are and how long you've been around this business.
Well, my name is Brad Davidson. I'm from Manitoba. I have 35 to 36 years municipal and industrial firefighting experience. I've been involved with lifelong education in the fire service, and it was great to be able to attend FDIC and join your class. That was a highlight for sure.
Thank you.
And I like to be able to pass on my knowledge and experiences to others, who may be in the fire service and maybe not have the experiences that I've had.
Well, the story that you shared with me when class was done really got my attention. I mean, almost immediately, I'm like, Brad, you need to do a podcast with me. You need to share. You need to share this out with others, because the things that happened to you and how you responded to the things that happened to you can be a game changer, can be a lifesaver. So just kind of walk us down the road of what happened that day and how things unfolded for you.
Well, at a particular industrial facility that I was working at, they were having a shutdown to repair a reverberatory furnace. And it's molten metal, and there's a lot of work and other hot work that happens during this phase. And I had attended other smaller fires as a result of hot work that particular night shift. And because the main focus of work was on shutting down the furnace to cool it off so they could repair the brickwork and whatnot, we were required and expected to do fire safety inspections in the area. And my tour involved making sure that the firefighting equipment that may be required was in place if needed, because a lot of the work involved using hoses to spray off equipment and areas that they needed to work on. So I traveled to that area and did a foot walkabout the furnace and had a good look around. And during my tour, I noticed a number of tradespeople doing what they had to do. And I was basically doing a 360 of the furnace, which was a very large industrial furnace. And by the time I did most of my 360, I started to have a gut feeling that something was very wrong, and I was in the wrong place. I looked at the brickwork in the corner of the furnace, and I observed that it kind of had a fishbowl look to it, and that there was a lot of water being used and water mist in the area. And it just come to a certain point in time that I thought, this I've got a really bad feeling about this. I should leave.
Were you alone, or were you part of a crew at that point?
I was alone.
Okay. And how big is the furnace? You say it's a large furnace. Put that into context. Is it as big as a house, or bigger, or smaller?
It'd be at least as big as a house, yeah.
Okay. And then inside this furnace, they are heating metal, like melting metal, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they keep it in a molten state, and they keep it in a molten state, but they were trying to cool it down so they could work on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of water being used around the furnace, but it was unknown to me that the water was actually being applied to the interior.
Okay. So you get this sense that something's not right and you shouldn't be there. Do you say anything to anyone that's working there at that point?
I don't. I'm not familiar with the shutdown process.
Okay.
And I was never completely comfortable being around the furnace, partly because I didn't understand how they operated it safely. And I've been there on numerous occasions in the past where the furnace had what was called a runaway, where the furnace sprung a leak and had a runaway. And at that time, we were called in to control the leak. And as a note of interest, we would spray the molten metal with water when it was leaking to stop it from traveling. And then moments later, we'd be walking on the crust to advance. And at that time, it literally felt like you were. It was, it was dark, it was steam, it was smoky, and there was black dust. So there was moments when you were advancing across this crust of molten metal that you were, your only reason for being there was duty, because most people would probably not want to be there.
Yeah, count me among them. It kind of reminds me of walking across lava on a volcano, and I can think of all the reasons why that wouldn't be a very good idea. So, all right, so you 360 the furnace. There are workers there. About how many workers are working on this project?
Well, there's a main level where the majority of workers were, but there's also a higher level on top of the furnace that was being cleaned. And I was really unaware of what the work was going on top of the furnace, but I did see a number of my friends and people that I grew up with who were tradespeople who were doing what they had to do either on the furnace or around the furnace. So there had to be about a dozen or more people. Okay.
All right. Now, is this daytime or nighttime?
This is nighttime.
Nighttime. So it's after dark. Is it dark? I don't want to assume. Okay. And then is the area well lit, or is there some lighting challenges there too to be able to see everything that's happening?
No, it was well lit.
Okay. And then what's the weather like outside?
Well, it would have been in August, so it was August night in Manitoba, so
only a light snowfall.
Well, I would say it's warm, but compared to southern U.S.,
Yeah. Don't throw the. I was waiting for you to say it was about 16, but 16. Our 16 and your 16 are very different 16s. So a warm August night. Okay, so you get this. Sense that you shouldn't be there. What did that feel like for you? I mean, how did that present to you?
Well, I've had them before, Rich, and they worked for me in the past. But after you get so many years' experience around these settings, you start to recognize possible hazards, and with all the work going on around a molten metal furnace, I had some experience with molten metal before, and I knew there could be reactions. I was aware that there could be reactions, although that wasn't in the forefront of my mind. The condition of the furnace and the water being sprayed around that I could see caused me some concern, because to me the furnace still seemed pretty hot.
Mm-hmm. But you got some kind of feeling or sensation or gut feel or voices in your head or something that kind of set the alarm bells off for you. So I'm trying to get the listeners to understand how did that present to you? What were you feeling? Did you get, like a upset stomach, or did you just get kind of butterflies, or did you get kind of, I don't know. I just want to try to let them, from the firsthand perspective, understand, if you can't even bring it to words, what you were feeling.
Well, it's a gut feeling, and then it's a gut feeling, and I wouldn't say that I got butterflies, but it's a gut feeling that kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And, sometimes a person has thoughts going through their head, and like I say, I've had them before, and the thought going through my head was that I needed to double time it out of there. Like, I just felt very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And did you trust that feeling and double time it out of there, or did you hang around a bit?
No, I trusted that, and I double timed it out of there. I didn't assume that other people were in danger, because I personally never felt comfortable in that area ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when I attended that area, it was because of a molten metal furnace runaway or other event that, we were going in to control the hazard.
And at the time that you were feeling this need or sense to depart the area, at that time, could you identify why you were feeling that way, or were you just feeling that way but you really weren't sure, other than a general discomfort for being in that environment? I mean, did you see anything specifically that said, I need to leave and that's the reason why? Or was it just sort of more subconscious connecting of experiences that kind of gave you that feeling?
Well, I saw water mist or spray from behind my right, above me and to the right. And when I looked at one corner of the furnace, the brickwork looked like it could fall down if I just give it a hard shove. And the combination of the water and the loose bricks, it just didn't look right to me. I was expecting, a square and level structure.
Mm-hmm. Is that the first time you had seen brick in that type of condition?
I had never. Yes, I guess that would be a good comment. I mean, I'd never seen brick like that. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So you decide that you're gonna leave. So you just get in your vehicle and hightail out of there. And so is that where the story ends?
Well, no, I had went back to my office, which was like a control center, and I was going to stop for lunch, actually, and the other person on shift with me decided they needed a break, and I was just starting to have my lunch, and the phone rang. And at the time, the caller was panicked, and they said there had been an explosion, and there was men missing.
At the furnace?
At the furnace, yeah. And that started...
How long had it... What's the time lapse here, Brad, between your leaving that area and that phone call coming in?
I would say maybe 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so you were 10 minutes from being on site when the explosion occurred.
That's true. The people that I observed working on the furnace when I did my 360 were involved, directly involved.
Okay, so That then precipitates a response from you back to the scene. Describe what you saw when you got there.
Well, I had a series of phone calls before I could respond. Each phone call that I received, the number of men missing increased. So before I actually attended the scene, I paged out our brigade. I called the hospital back a second time and reported that what we had was a mass casualty incident, and they had better do whatever they had to do to increase their staffing and number of units responding. And I provided them with instructions, and I met the chief. Was one of the first guys on scene, like not on scene, but was one of the first guys I met responding before I responded. And I just I offered to coordinate medical triage and head count while the brigade did the rescue and fire and rescue. I offered to do the medical triage.
Describe the scene on your arrival.
Well, upon my arrival, it looked to me like there was maybe around 100 men standing in a poorly lit area. Most of them were black from head to toe, and they're standing in a semicircle. And I believed I arrived with the first medical rig, and I just I noticed various degrees of injury and burn, and I walked into the middle of the semicircle, and I said, anybody with a major injury or burn, I said, here's your medical rig. And anybody with a minor injury, I said, hop in my truck. And the first person they brought to me had significant blisters already on his facial area. And I realized at that time that could mean compromised airway. So I took him over to the ambulance.
Mm-hmm. Now, the furnace, did the explosion involve the area that you had observed your concern with? Like, you know, that weakened brick corner?
It may have. There was people all around the furnace and near the top of the furnace, and they were all involved in the blast.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned later that there was actually a series of explosions.
Mm. And as you were there treating victims, at some point you had to hearken back a thought of, wow, just 10 minutes ago, I'd have been right in the thick of this. Did that kind of come to your mind at any point, or were you too busy in the moment taking care of patients to give that thought?
Yeah, you know, I never give. Sometime later I may have given that some thought, but at the time we really had our hands full because with a couple hundred men working in that area, our major concern was making sure that first of all the injured were triaged and treated, mm-hmm. and then we had to do a head count, and so between the triage and transport, that kept us, at least myself, pretty busy, mm-hmm. because then I was my responsibilities increased to more of a management level because there was so many other duties that come up, and one of them was utilizing stocks that we had of burn gel.
Mm-hmm. At what point, Brad, did you And it could have been sometime that night. It could have been the next day, a week later, a month later. But at some point, you had to think to yourself, I knew this was going to happen 10 minutes before it happened. That's why I left the area. Did you have that thought at any point? I mean, did you realize how trusting your intuition perhaps saved your life?
Yeah, I realized it was significant. And like I might have mentioned before, from then on, maybe before then and after, I learned to trust it, because there was other situations that, you learn to trust your intuition and act on it.
Mm-hmm. That's a really valuable takeaway for anybody who's listening to this podcast episode, to hear from somebody who's been in the fire service for 35 plus years, to say, you need to trust that gut feel. You need to, even if you can't necessarily explain why it's happening. And we talked about this at the class at FDIC. You may not be able to understand the foundation for why you feel that way, but when you're at the expert level of experience and you get that feeling, there's a reason for it. And so many first responders just trudge right over it. They don't trust it. They think their logical thinking is smarter than their intuitive thinking, and then they get themselves into a tight spot. And I'm sure sometime earlier in life, you and I both have trudged over our intuition and did things that the hindsight lesson was, if only I would have trusted my gut, I might not have had the outcome that I had. But over the course of time and age and experience comes wisdom. And with that wisdom, you learn to be more trusting of that hidden knowledge that we call intuition.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point, Rich. It's a hidden knowledge. I agree. It's a combination of your experience and training and knowledge, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So look into your camera there, Brad, and give some solid advice to that 10-plus year firefighter, company officer, newer promoted battalion chief, or newer promoted incident commander, about your greatest takeaway from this event.
Well, I guess my greatest takeaway is that the fire service is a never-ending learning process. Even when you don't think you're learning, you are. Each call that you have builds your knowledge base, and of course you revert back to your training and you have to know I like the term know your enemy and survive. Like, the more that you can learn about the hazards that you may face, it's only going to benefit you in the end.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you one other question here, Brad, that just came to my mind. If you were with someone else, say you had a partner with you on that inspection, the person you went back and you guys were taking a break together, assume that person was with you when you went out to the furnace, and you got this gut feeling that you shouldn't be there. How would you try to convince them that you guys should be leaving? Because they might not see what you're seeing, and they may not be intuitively processing what you're processing. How difficult would that conversation be to be able to turn to someone and say, I've got this really bad feeling that we shouldn't be here? Would that conversation come easy for you, or would that be a difficult conversation to have?
That wouldn't be a difficult conversation for me to have. I put enough trust in that I can always be proven wrong, but I've learned to trust it over the years. And if I had somebody along with me on an inspection or in an incident like that, and I got that feeling, I would be taking them with me. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because a lot of responders, they get that intuitive feeling. They don't understand where it's coming from. And it's almost like a feeling of embarrassment, because if they speak up and somebody challenges them with, well, what is it? And then they can't absolutely articulate, well, it's this and this, and tick it off of a list. It's this, and this. It's just, it's nothing more than a gut feel or the hair standing up on the back of my neck. That's really, it can be harder, especially for a junior person to have that conversation with a more seasoned or experienced person who might not be having the same intuitive response, and trying to convince them that maybe we shouldn't be here, or maybe, we should leave. And, in the classes that I've done, I've had a lot of conversations with people who haven't had that conversation when they've been in that environment, because they feel too embarrassed or too awkward to speak up. And your advice is get over it and speak up, right?
That's right. Somebody could challenge that, and sometimes you can put a finger on it, Rich, but other times it's a combination of things. In an industrial facility, there's high power, high pressure, high temperature, and you get to learn after a while that, if X happens, this means that Y is going to happen, and normally most of those observations lead you to the fact that you're in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes the lesson of I'm in the wrong place doesn't come till after some event, a near miss or an injury or something more catastrophic, and then you look back in hindsight and you realize that those subtle warnings of your intuition were trying to give you an alert, but if you don't heed the alert, then it's you're putting yourself in grave danger. And if you'd have stayed there and trudged over your intuition, in 10 minutes, you could have been on the victim end of this incident.
That's very true. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you for coming on to the podcast and sharing with me this experience. It really caught my attention when we had this conversation at FDIC, and it's truly, I can talk all day long with people about the importance of intuition, but when you have a responder with 35 years telling me and the audience about how intuition literally saved their life, that's a really, really valuable takeaway for people. So thanks for coming on and sharing that lesson.
Well, thanks for allowing me the time to be on your podcast, Rich, and interact with others and share my experience.
Now, if they want to reach you, say they've got some additional questions, or maybe they work with furnaces, or maybe they've had an experience with intuition and they just want to share that with you as somebody who had that same experience, how can they find you?
My email address is BDavidso @mymts.net. It's
MY and then MTS, Mary, Tom, Sam?
.net.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to reach out to Brad, very, very personable gentleman. I've had a number of conversations with him by email, and he'll help you out. So Brad, thanks for being with me.
Thanks, Rich.
If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the SAMatters.com website and clicking on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near miss event could save the life of another first responder. If you want to share your experience, contact me. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and organizations that have hosted some great training on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making for their members. I do this to show my appreciation to those organizations who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training experiences for their members and for members and departments throughout their region. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making to your members and others are greatly appreciated. Recent tour stops included the Colorado Springs Fire Department, the West Des Moines Fire Department, the Beaver Lake Fire Department, the Woodlands Fire Department, Norfolk Naval Shipyard, and where I am now, the McCandless, Pennsylvania Fire Department. I'm also thankful for the presentation opportunities that I have upcoming. And if you want to join me, on July 26 and 27, I'll be at Fire Rescue International in Charlotte, North Carolina. August 1, a program for NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland. August 2, the Tennessee Safety and Health Conference in Nashville. August 4 and 5, Evansville Fire Department. August 10 and 11, Redmond, Washington Fire Department. August 22, 3, and 4, Lexington County, South Carolina Fire Department. August 26th and 27th, the Northwest Fire District in Houston, Texas. And as I already mentioned, the National Situational Awareness Month events at the top of the show. In October, the SA Matters Tour goes international in a big way, with programs in Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, Australia, Perth, Australia, Christchurch, New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand 2 times, Amsterdam, Netherlands 3 times, and Antwerp, Belgium 3 times. That's 12 programs and 77 flight hours in 28 days. This is by far my craziest SA Matters Tour event ever. If you want to see the locations of all the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stops, head over to the SA Matters website, click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. The schedule is always changing, so check back often. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters tour stop event, there is only a couple of dates left in November and December 2017. And I'm very actively booking the programs now for 2018 because those who wanted 2017 programs are being pushed into 2018 to get scheduled. So, if you think your department or association or a regional conference or state conference or your company, yes, we do programs for business and industry too, are interested, just contact me through the SA Matters website, Contact Us tab, and we'll get something set up for you. It's a pretty easy process, I promise. The last time I delivered programs in southwest Minnesota, I had an opportunity to stop by and visit my awesome and amazing podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. They make all poly-bodied fire apparatus, and it's changing the industry. You seriously need to check them out at MidwestFire.com. Anyhow, while I was there, I had a chance to sit down and talk to some of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Here, I got the chance to ask account executive Dalton Lingbeck about their Create a Spec feature. Let's listen in. All right, Dalton. So, a lot of the people who attend my programs are volunteer firefighters who have full-time jobs and full-time lives and raising their kids and working second jobs and doing the fire department, and clearly their time is stretched. So how, if they had an interest in a Midwest Fire apparatus, how do they reach you, and what's the process? I mean, how difficult is this? How much time is this going to take if they want to learn more about how to build a Midwest fire truck?
Well, that's a good question. We try and make it as easy as possible because a lot of our customers, if not the majority of our customers, are volunteer firefighters, and they do have a hard time of finding time in a day to reach out to us. So if you ever go to our website and you're searching around and you really want to talk to us but you just can't get on the phone, we have a couple ways of doing this. The first part is we actually have a call request button where you can go on there, you can click on it, you can tell us when and what number to call you on at the best time. That's really easy for us to reach out at the moment you want us to, when you're best available. The second thing is we do a Create a Spec. So on our website, you can actually click a button that's called Create a Spec, and you can build the truck that you are trying to spec out. And what that does, it doesn't give you the full truck, it doesn't give you a price, but it sends us a specification in-house. So what we can do with that is we can have your information to call you with, but before that, we have the spec in hand. We can make notes. We can start developing some ideas. So when we call you, it's an efficient call. It doesn't take up a lot of your time, and it's at the right moment.
And this creative spec, is there like drop-down options? Like, I'm guessing like when I purchased fire trucks, sometimes I didn't even know what I wanted, and sometimes I didn't even know the options of what were available. So is this kind of talk me through, the different decisions that need to be made in developing a spec? Because I would guess that there are people out there that would be scratching their head saying, I'm not really sure that I know what I need or want. So how interactive is this in walking you through this?
Well, it's a page-by-page process. So we kind of start out with the size of your truck, and we go on to different options. We try to make it as simple as possible for you to get the point across. Basically, what it does is, like I said, it's a page-by-page process. You choose your options. We lead you in a direction that you need to go. So it's not one big page of just a bunch of stuff that you need to choose.
Okay. But there are options listed there to be able to choose from.
Yeah, but you're not writing anything out. There are comment boxes where you can write little comments if you need to, but we give you the options. Little drop-down, little check boxes.
Are you, on this Create spec, are you getting as specific as to say, I want this first compartment to be so many inches wide, by so many inches tall, by so many inches deep? Are they getting that in-depth in the Create spec, or is it something that's just a little simpler that allows them to do kind of like a high-level description of what they want in a truck?
It's a little simpler. It's more of a high-level idea. When it comes to compartment sizes, that's more for engineering to figure out. But you can, like I said, in the comment boxes, there are sections where you can say, I want high side compartments, I want full head compartments on this side. There's a lot of options for you to choose that.
Okay, so to go to MidwestFire.com, and then on there is a Create a Spec tab or link.
Yep, you'll see one on the top right corner, and if you scroll down the main page, you'll see one underneath our video. There's plenty of options for you to find it. It's just here to catch your eye, and when you see some trucks on our website that you like, feel free to fill one out.
Yep, there you go. Go to MidwestFire.com, check out Create a Spec, and see how easy it is to build a truck and then have a follow-up consultation about your needs. Thank you to Midwest Fire President Sarah Atchison and all your staff for your awesome commitment to improving first responder safety. I sincerely appreciate your support of my mission. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners yet, consider joining. There are over 5,000 members connected here on SA Matters, sharing ideas on how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. Membership is free, and when you sign up, I'll give you a special report I've created for the new members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. Joining also gets you my monthly email newsletter that contains featured content from the blogs and the podcast. It truly is the best way for us to stay in touch with each other. If you're not a member yet, head over to the SA Matters website, click on the red box on the right side of the homepage. It says Free Membership. If you want to get connected with me on Twitter, you can follow @RichGasaway on Twitter. On LinkedIn, you can search for Rich Gasaway. On YouTube, you can watch my videos on the SA Matters TV YouTube channel. On Facebook, you can like the SA Matters page on Facebook. Well, that's it. Episode 170 is complete. Thank you to my guest, Brad Davidson. Thank you to our awesome podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to all of our live event hosts. And thank you to the more than 700 online Academy students. And thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I truly appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.